The sun was not yet over the barn roof when Henny opened her eyes. She felt the dry hay beneath her feathers. She heard the soft breathing of the other hens beside her. But something felt different about this morning. Henny stretched one leg, then the other. She blinked her round eye at the dim light coming through the coop door. The air smelled of dust and straw and old wood. Outside, a single bird called once, then went quiet. If you have ever woken before everyone else, you know that feeling. The world is still, the air is cool, and you are the first creature to move in it. Henny stood up. She stepped over her sleeping sisters. The floor of the coop was warm from their bodies. The boards creaked under her feet. She reached the door and pushed her head through the opening. The grass was wet. The sky was pale grey, like milk in a bowl. The oak tree at the edge of the field stood still, its leaves not moving. A single drop of dew fell from the roof above Henny's head and landed on her beak. She shook her head. The drop fell away. Now, you might think that breakfast comes from a basket, or from a bag, or from a kitchen shelf where someone places it. That is what most creatures believe. Henny once believed that too. She used to wait at the kitchen door until the farmer's hand dropped a handful of corn onto the ground. But this morning was different. This morning, Henny remembered something. She remembered where the corn comes from. She remembered the golden field at the far end of the farm. She remembered the dry stalks that stand all winter, bending under snow. And she remembered the small brown seeds that fall from them, one by one. She had seen a seed once. It had fallen from the harvest wagon when Farmer Gray was bringing in the wheat. The seed was small, brown, dry. It sat in the mud for days. Then rain came. The seed swelled. It split open. And from inside, a tiny green thread pushed upward. Henny had watched this with one eye standing on one leg, not moving. The green thread became a blade. The blade became a stalk. The stalk grew tall. That was wheat. And Henny knew something else. She knew that wheat does not become bread by itself. It needs a hand. It needs a mill. It needs fire. And it needs something only she could give. And now you carry a secret too. The knowledge that even a chicken's small action can feed the soil that feeds the wheat. If you want to keep discovering these hidden threads that connect the garden to the table, subscribe so you never miss a morning like this one. And in the comments, tell us what you want to help grow. Maybe a carrot, maybe a clover patch of your own. Henny would be glad to know she has company. The coop door creaked open wider. Henny stepped out onto the wet grass. The cold touched her feet, but she did not stop. She walked toward the barn. The barn smelled of hay and leather and the sweet dust of old grain. Light came through gaps in the wooden walls, long yellow beams that crossed the dark space. In the corner stood a sack, a burlap sack tied at the top with twine. Henny knew what was inside. She had seen the farmer pour it, small golden grains. Not corn, wheat. Henny walked to the sack. She stood beside it. The sack was taller than her, but she did not need to open it. She only needed to wait. And here is the beautiful part. The wheat in that sack had come from the field she remembered. The same field where she'd seen a seed become a stalk. The seed had grown. It had been cut. It had been threshed. It had been bagged. And now, it was here, waiting. But the wheat was still just wheat. It was not bread yet. It needed something more. It needed a journey through the mill. Farmer Gray had a mill. A small one behind the barn. 2 stones, one on top of the other. The wheat poured between them. And the stones turned and the grains broke into powder. Henny had seen this too. She had stood at the door of the mill house and watched the white dust fall into a wooden box. Flour. But flour is not bread either. Flour is just flour. It needs water. It needs salt. It needs heat. And it needs something that Henny could give. The morning light grew stronger. The sky turned from grey to pale blue. The rooster crowed from the fence post, his voice loud and clear. Henny turned back toward the coop. Her sisters were waking up. But Henny did not go to the kitchen door. She did not wait for the farmer's hand. She walked toward the garden. In the garden, the soil was soft from last night's rain. The rows of vegetables stood straight. The tomatoes hung red and round. The carrots had green tops like tufts of hair. But Henny was not looking for vegetables. She was looking for something else. Something small. Something that grew in the dirt without anyone planting it. She found it near the fence. A patch of clover. Green leaves. Small purple flowers. Henny lowered her head and began to eat. Now you might wonder, what does clover have to do with bread? It seems like 2 different things. But Henny knew something that the clover knew too. The clover was not just food for her. The clover was a partner. Deep underground, where no one can see, the roots of clover hold tiny bubbles. Inside those bubbles live small creatures, too small for any eye to see. These creatures take air and turn it into food for the soil. They take the air, the nitrogen, and they lock it into the earth. And that earth feeds the wheat. So while Henny ate the clover leaves, the roots beneath her were working. They were feeding the soil that would grow next season's wheat, the wheat that would become bread, the bread that would feed the farmer who would open the coop door tomorrow morning. If you have ever felt small, wondering if your work matters, look at Henny. She ate clover, and that clover helped make bread. She did not know this. She did not think about it. She just ate. But the bread was still not made. Henny did not need to know the whole story to be part of it. And neither do you. When you subscribe, you become one of the watchers. The ones who notice the quiet work that happens while no one is watching. We share these stories every week, so you and your little one can rest, knowing that even the smallest creature has a place in the turning of the seasons. And if you caught yourself nodding when we spoke about feeling small, leave the word clover in the comments. It is a small word, but it holds a whole world of meaning. The sun climbed higher. The farmer appeared at the kitchen door, rubbing his eyes. He walked to the barn. He opened the burlap sack. He scooped out a handful of wheat and walked toward the mill house. Henny followed him. She did not walk quickly. She walked at her own pace, her clawed feet pressing into the soft earth. The farmer did not see her. He poured the wheat into the top of the mill. He turned the handle. The stones groaned. The white flour fell into the box. The smell of fresh ground wheat filled the air like warm hay and dry grass and something deeper, something almost sweet. The farmer stopped. He looked at the flour. He ran his fingers through it. Then he looked at Henny, who stood at the door of the mill house watching. He smiled. Old Farmer Thomas, who knew every grain of wheat on his farm, once said that flour remembers where it came from. He said that when you bake bread, you are baking the memory of last summer's rain, the memory of the soil, the memory of the clover and the sun, and the small creatures below the earth. Henny did not know about memory, but she knew about waiting. She knew about patience. She knew that from the moment the seed fell to the moment the bread came out of the oven, there were 47 days. Not less, not more. 47 days. The farmer took the flour to the kitchen. Henny followed. She stood at the screen door and watched him pour the flour into a wooden bowl. He added water. He added salt. He stirred with a big wooden spoon. The dough formed into a ball. He kneaded it. He pressed it. He folded it. The dough became smooth. He placed it in a pan. He covered it with a cloth. He set it near the window where the sun could reach it. And then he left. Henny stood at the door. The dough sat in the pan. Nothing seemed to be happening. But something was happening. Something invisible. Inside the dough, the flour and water were talking. Small life forms, too small to see, were waking up. They were eating the flour. They were breathing. They were multiplying. They were making tiny bubbles of air, and those bubbles pushed the dough upward. Slowly. Gently. Henny did not move. She watched. This is the part that most people miss. The part between mixing and baking. The waiting. The rising. The invisible work that happens while no one watches. The dough grew. It swelled over the edge of the pan. It doubled in size. It became soft and puffy like a cloud that had fallen onto the counter. The farmer returned. He looked at the dough. He smiled again. He opened the oven door. A wave of heat came out, warm and dry. He placed the pan inside. He closed the door. And then the fire began its work. The kitchen grew warm. The smell changed. It became golden and round and deep, and he could smell the memory of the field, the rain, the sun, the clover, the soil, all of it, rising through the heat. She did not leave. She stayed at the screen door, her feathers ruffled slightly by the warm air that escaped through the crack. She blinked slowly. Her eyelids felt heavy. The farmer took the bread out of the oven. The crust was brown. Steam rose from the top, curling into the air like a small ghost. He set the pan on the counter. He tapped the bread with his knuckle. It made a hollow sound. A sound like a drum. A sound like the earth after the first rain. He let it cool. And he watched the steam fade. Then the farmer cut a slice. He held it in his hand. He walked to the door and opened it. He broke the slice in half and held one piece down toward Henny. She stepped forward. The bread was warm. She took it gently into her beak. The crust was crisp. The inside was soft. She tasted the wheat. She tasted the salt. She tasted something else, too. Something she could not name. But her body knew it. It was the taste of her own morning. The clover. The waiting. The watching. All of it. Transformed into this one small piece of bread. She ate it slowly. One crumb at a time. The farmer sat on the step beside her. He ate his half. They did not speak. The sun was fully above the barn now, warm on Henny's back. The grass was drying. The dew was gone. The rooster had stopped crowing. Henny looked at the farmer's hand. It was the same hand that had opened the coop door. The same hand that had poured the wheat into the mill. The same hand that had kneaded the dough and placed it in the oven. And now, that same hand rested on his knee, empty and still. She pressed her head against his leg. Just once. A small pressure. A small thanks. The farmer looked down at her. He did not say anything, but his hand came down and touched the feathers on her head, soft and slow, like a breeze moving through dry grass. Perhaps you can feel the same stillness settling in your own home, the warmth of a meal shared, the weight of the day folding into a quiet moment. If these gentle stories help you find that rest, subscribe so they become part of your evening rhythm. And before you close your eyes, tell us in the comments, what is one taste you remember from a simple meal? For Henny, it was the wheat and the salt and the memory of clover. For you, it might be something just as small, just as true. Behind them, inside the kitchen, the loaf of bread sat on the counter. Steam still rose from the cut slice. The crumbs from the broken half lay scattered on the wooden step. A single ant approached, then stopped, then carried one crumb away, and the farm settled into the quiet rhythm of morning. The kind of quiet that asks nothing from you, the kind of quiet that lets you rest. Henny closed her eyes. The warmth of the sun pressed down on her back. The bread was inside her. The field was inside her. The waiting was inside her. And all of it felt like one thing, one long, slow, gentle circle. She tucked one leg up into her feathers. She stood on one foot. Her head drooped forward. Her beak touched her chest, and she slept.